Craig Amick. Welcome to Owls Down Under.
Thank you.
We take the hot take in. Yeah, I was watching one episode somebody was doing, and they're like 10 minutes into it. And the guest is like, did we start yet? The host is like, yeah, we started 10 minutes ago.
Yes, as a matter of fact, you have.
He said, but the good thing is you are precisely the same on camera as you are off camera. So it really doesn't matter.
Yes.
But it was interesting because he sounded like he was almost a little put off by the fact that he kind of got surprised. Like, I didn't know.
I like it better, honestly.
Yeah.
And I like the real formal intros.
Well, like I like to watch, the Sean Ryan show.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts, everybody gets an intro and he starts reading this background intro, which it's fine. I mean,
right.
But I don't have the time to do all that kind of research. And it feels a little, I don't know, sketchy. Like, hey, I learned all this stuff about Craig Amick. And you're like, dude, are you freaking stalking me or something?
Right. Kind of feels a little weird, and it's really easy to lose your audience in a hurry, too. So.
Right. But the thing that I've also found is that it helps to have like a little bit of an idea, who you're talking to. And you're like, so I've had a couple of people that I've almost never met. I think a couple episodes ago, Karen Skelton and Emily Keene. I met Karen Skelton at a Chamber of Commerce gathering.
Right.
And I'm like, would you like to come do this? And she's like, yeah, that'd be great. And I thought, great. Well, so a lot of this is, I've said this a couple of times now, this feels like I'm going to go through 1,000 first dates.
That's a really good analogy.
Yeah. And you're going to sit down and try to find out, like, who is this person here? We're not going to date, just so you know.
Well, luckily it's not our first date anyway.
Yeah.
We've met a couple of times.
I don't know that I like the way you're saying that, but yes, but it makes it interesting. But then, sometimes you want to start asking, like, so why are you wearing an orange shirt? Is this because you went to Clemson? Of course, the answer is going to be yes, but that might only be coincidental. So,
right.
Did you go to Clemson?
I did go to Clemson.
Is that why you're wearing an orange shirt?
It absolutely is not. I'm wearing an orange shirt because this is what was clean and at the front of the closet. So,
does everything go into the back and it rotates to the front?
Honestly, no. A lot of stuff kind of stays at the front.
You wear it.
You do laundry every few days, so you only go through.
So you're a first in, last out stack operation.
Yeah.
Things don't go in a queue coming around here.
No.
You haven't seen my sock drawer, have you?
Mine's a mess.
I've got probably 32 pair of socks of the exact same variety.
I'm impressed that you have a number.
I'm just guessing it's a lot. And my wife just puts them in on this end. I take them out on that end.
So you were first in, first out.
Last in, first. Yes, first in, first out.
First in, first out. You have a sock queue.
I am a FIFO man.
Right. Do you have a number of times you'll wear your socks before you throw them out, or you just wait for them to get holes?
I kind of wait for them to get old, but one of the advantages of having 30 or 40 pairs or whatever it is they only get washed like 6 times a year.
There you go.
So I figured they're going to last a lot longer. I feel good about that. But it wouldn't matter if I just bought it, like a few pair at a time and wore them out and get another few pair. The same number of pair would last just as long.
Yes.
And I wouldn't look anywhere near as bad to my wife when she's looking at my sock drawer going, every single one of those is lined up perfectly. This is not normal, honey.
Right. Right.
Now, that said, socks are a little different from the rest of the things I have. Not everything is that organized.
No.
Maybe.
I don't know. I feel like that's a personality thing. I don't get...
I do have all the Hollow Creek stuff together. I do have all the ASW stuff together. I do have all the scotches together. I do have all my glasses together.
Right.
There is... I liked Sesame Street.
There's a lot of...
One of these things is not like the others. One of these things doesn't belong.
Right.
When you find these things that are a little out of character. So
There's definitely a touch of OCD here.
So what do you do for a living that you don't have the OCD?
What do I do for a living?
Yeah.
Which one? I got like a couple of different livings.
So when you're 8 to 5.
8 to 5. I work for Westinghouse Electric, manage a little design group that does mechanical design for commercial nuclear fuel.
So the Westinghouse doesn't have a location, so you're working from home. I mean, they've got a location, but they're not here. Is this
They do have an
for
office.
the VC summer operation, or is this just, how'd you hook up with Westinghouse?
Honestly, it's a very uninteresting story. I was graduating from Clemson in 2005. Meredith's cousin worked for Westinghouse, still does work for Westinghouse, and said, hey, you should send me a resume. Like, we're hiring some new grads. So I sent a resume, got a call back and said, hey, come in for an interview. And I walked in, interviewed at the manufacturing plant there, and walked in, did this little panel interview with the behavioral-based questions, which that's another
You
story
have
for another
your
time.
own behavioral style.
Right, I do. But they wrap up kind of the scripted part of it and said, all right, do you have any questions for us? I said, actually, yeah, I do. What do you guys make here? That's how much prep work I had done.
And they still hired you.
They still offered me a job.
And you're still there.
20 years later, I am still there.
Wow. In 20 years, my first 20 years of my career, I had 20 jobs.
Really?
I'm on my 23rd job
23
in 38 years.
in 38 years.
And the one I'm in now, I've been in for 10 years.
So you really jumped around to start with.
You think?
Now, does that count different positions in the same company as a different job?
I didn't stay long enough to get promoted.
Oh, okay. There you go.
My shortest job was 9 working days.
Well, that's quick.
That was, I started September 12th, 2001.
Okay.
The day after September
Right.
11th.
Right.
I can do the math. And after 9 days, I'm like, this is not working. No.
Yeah.
I was working with a guy who I affectionately called Tony the Tiger because he sounded a little bit like Tony the Tiger.
Yeah.
I think his name might have been Tony, but I'm not really sure.
That would make it even better. I would call him Tony anyway.
It would make it work. But let's just say that maybe that really wasn't his name. He may have been just saying that was his name. We all went to work in a townhouse, residential townhouse, like 3 miles from where half of the hijackers had just done their flight training. I had lunches in little lunch spots around there,
Right.
where people had seen these guys over the past year or two when they were learning to fly.
Right.
Not learning to land, but learning to fly.
Right. That they weren't worried about landing so
Right.
much.
But, one of my friends, was telling me, he's seeing these pictures of these hijackers and, the Abu somebody, one of the names in particular is kind of the leader of this. He goes, holy shit, I know that guy. He has lunch here. I mean, he'd seen him probably a dozen times.
He had lunch here. Not anymore.
Yeah. I don't know if he was a good tipper or not. Probably not. So anyway, that's, this was down in South Florida. Yeah. And I started a job and there's like 2 of us reporting to work in a residence. So people are coming in shirt and tie with a briefcase into a home in a apartment complex, townhome complex, where the windows are covered over with hurricane shutters. And I'm just going, this is not right.
Yeah.
And then, I think on the 3rd day, I could hear this TV audio. And I thought, somebody in the next door apartment or a townhouse or whatever, is watching TV. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to sit here and listen to this TV through the wall.
Time to go.
So I said something to Tony. He said, no, that's, so-and-so upstairs. Well, this is a 2-story townhouse. I'm like, the TV is on upstairs. Like, is there somebody there? He says, no, he only comes here on the weekends or something. So there's a guy that lived there on the weekends.
What kind of job was this?
Company called Equipment Pipeline, and it was a software development job. At least that's what I thought it was. And I suspect it was.
Right.
But they just weren't spending money on like office space. And this kid that was living there, he was like the VP's kid or something, and he'd been in a motorcycle accident years before, had some head trauma. So he just needed places to kind of chill out and smoke weed. And he didn't want the TV turned off because he wanted it to sound like there was somebody living there.
Okay.
I'm like, you know what? I prefer unemployment. So after 9 days, I had been unemployed before this. I needed a job. Yeah. So I took this one. But I'm like, no, I'm going back on unemployment.
Right.
I'm not even going to tell them I had the job to start with. Got one paycheck. They were obviously running a commercial operation in a residential place without, proper permitting from the city or that we were in.
There's like all kind of red lights going off.
Oh, yeah. Tons. And this was September 12th, 2001.
Right. This is not something I'll be associated with here.
So, yes, some places I was at a little bit more than a year. In some places, not much. And it was, in fact, I just had this conversation with somebody the other day, and they were asking me, why did you move around? And sometimes, people came with, I'll give you 30% pay raise or something. You're like, well, of course I'm going to go do that.
Right. Sure.
In some cases, I just didn't get along with management. And I'm like, this isn't going to work out. And I also would think, am I going to be here till I retire? And I thought, the answer is no. Well, then get out.
Right.
Go find a place that maybe you will be until you retire.
Right.
And apparently I found that, but after 28 years. So 28 years, 22 jobs, and subtract, you get to the point where I moved at least every year. So why haven't you moved? That's the question in my mind goes, what's wrong with you? Why are you still in the same job 20 years later? What keeps you in it?
I'm probably not talented enough to go anywhere else.
I doubt that's true, but
no, actually, I've been very pleased with Westinghouse. Good company to work for. Really good comp package. Good people. Truly love the team that I've got now. They make my job too easy.
They certainly got the same problems that every company has, because this is what I've learned over time. Hey, you go to enough companies, you're going to find out they're all the same.
Right, they are.
But it took me probably 20 years before I realized that, and I thought, I got to find a different thing that makes this worthwhile. Why am I here? I'm not here because you're a really good boss. I'm not here because the product is super sexy and I want to be able to tell people I worked on, such and such a thing. And I started doing things because I realized I like to solve problems. And this place has no shortage of problems.
There you go. You like a challenge.
Yeah. I have an uncle who went to work out of college, worked for a Cyril chemical company, became something else, pharmaceuticals, and ended up being bought up by Pfizer before it was all said and done. Went to work as a chemical engineer, sat in a lab mixing chemicals, did that for 30 plus years, retired. One job, his whole career.
One job, 30 years. Chemistry, too. I hated chemistry. With a passion.
He had fun just kind of mixing things up.
Glad somebody likes to.
So what was your degree in then?
Mechanical
engineering.
Right.
So how does that differ from like industrial design or from mechanical engineering? What do they teach you?
It's a
big things,
field.
Small things?
It's a very, very broad field, and you can do a lot with it. Anything from HVAC is considered mechanical engineering to thermodynamic cycles for power generation, that kind of thing. And then all your traditional like stress, strain, shafts, bearings, power transmission. It's a very broad field.
How does that differ from, let's say, like a civil engineering degree that maybe you're building bridges and condos that don't collapse.
Right. So civil is usually they do dirt work, site design, concrete, buildings, bridges. So
and you're building the equipment that they're using to.
Right. So we always joked in school and said, well, if you weren't smart enough to pass chemical engineering, you went to mechanical. If you failed out of mechanical, you went civil. So when you look at everything civils do, most of it doesn't move, right? So you can add
You don't
force.
want it to move.
You don't want it to move. So some forces and they equal zero. And then the big jump for mechanical is they don't always equal zero anymore.
Yeah, and you want to apply a force here and multiply it over there. And
right.
How do I get to be a lazy human and get a lot of work done still?
Right.
I like that. Should have gone and done that. So I like to work with my hands. I like to build little things. This is why, there's a lot of things I do that I'm like, well, this is fun because, my fascination with guns is, they're neat little pieces of equipment.
Right.
They function in a particular way. And if they're not just right, they don't function very well.
Right.
And then they might as well just be a piece of, a tree twig.
Right.
They're about as useful. And
yes.
Maybe not as useful. Because at least a tree trunk you can burn and use it for fuel.
Yes.
A broken rifle, you can't even do that. Maybe you can use it for a tent stake or something like that. So are you doing mechanical work for Westinghouse? How long did you do mechanical engineering work for Westinghouse?
So actually I went in I started as a process engineer, which basically just means you given responsibility for a portion of the manufacturing plant and you make shit happen. Like whatever goes wrong, you figure it out, you fix it, you get it back going. So some mechanical work there, not a ton of mechanical design work. And then I've kind of over the years moved towards product design. So it's purely design. However, I am not a qualified Westinghouse designer. I just manage them. They're the smart ones.
So that begs a couple of questions. What have you found about from the management standpoint? How do you get along well in that? What do you do well in that, and what do you fail at? Because I find myself in a management role now in the last couple of years, and I'm like, I'm not positive I'm really good at this. In fact, I asked a guy who just his last day on the job was 2 days ago, and I was giving him an exit interview, and I said, so, do you have any comments about, things I might be able to do better? And he says, well, you're kind of negative. And I'm like, really? So I was kind of presenting that to the rest of the team yesterday in a meeting. I'm like, well, apparently I'm kind of negative, so I'm trying to, do better. And one of the guys suggested to me, he says, well, Alan, really what you should say is, I'm positive I'm kind of negative.
There you go. See?
Then you can have a positive statement.
That sounds like some HR training.
Yeah, but it's not easy. So how big is the team that you're managing, and where are these people?
All total, it's 15 or 16 people. They're by and large in the Columbia area. We do have some that live off a little bit. Basically South Carolina and North Carolina. A couple of guys over in France that work out of a Paris office, which has got to be the sweetest gig there is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I say that. I visited Paris.
I was going to say, it is France. I don't mean to be entirely pejorative, but...
Right. Everybody should go see it. Don't plan on staying too long.
Yeah. I was in Paris when I was 13 for part of a day. Basically took a bus trip over from Germany and
right.
Walked around a little bit, hopped on the bus and drove back.
I enjoyed Germany much more than Paris.
Castles on the top of every stupid hill over there.
Yes.
What were the best castles?
The one I remember most was Heidelberg.
Okay. Why? That's still a pretty intact castle.
It is. It's very intact, and the tour guide we had left an impression. So they've got these. It's 2 or 3 huge wine barrels, right? And he was telling us just the history of these barrels. And clearly, most of us on the tour were from the States. And he said, I need you to understand these barrels are older than your country. Like that's a pretty good way to frame it. Like they have history over there that we just don't have.
Yeah, and it's at the top of every hill.
Yes.
And I was there when I was young. I have an uncle that was in the Air Force over there. So we went over and visited. And for a kid, that was really impressive. And to me, some of the oldest ruins of castles were probably the more impressive to me, because I'm like, these are stone, the only thing left is just, one turret or something like that.
Right.
And you're kind of going up these really narrow steps that are varying heights and whatever. It's not comfortable to walk on in the slightest. And you're just like, you walked, people years and years ago, that like they just did this every day. I'm like, yeah, but one wrong step and you're
right. And this is how the wealthy lived.
Yeah.
Like you had to be someone. I would not have lived in a castle.
No. I don't know. Maybe you would have. I don't mean to make assumptions here.
That is not the family I came from. No.
But yeah, it was, that was probably one of the biggest impressions. And then we went to, we didn't get to Heidelberg, but we did get down into Munich and down to, Oberammergau and, Neuschwanstein. Neuschwanstein is interesting because, well, it just is what it is. And Mad King Ludwig was Mad King Ludwig. And,
right.
to kind of check out his house and go, dude's got a cave inside of his house.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. I haven't been in too many caves, so I don't know what to compare it with really, but, I've been in a couple.
Right.
I'm like, well, that's kind of, I guess when you're the king, it's, I think Mel Brooks. Mel Gibbs. It's good to be the king.
I would imagine so, yes.
Yeah. So where else have you been? You've been to Paris, you've been to Germany.
Been to Paris, been to Germany. That's it for Europe. Kind of throughout the Caribbean, just vacations, Mexico.
Cruises, or you just...
a couple of cruises in there.
How do you like the cruise?
It's not my favorite. I would much rather fly to a resort somewhere and stay there for a week.
I know people that are big on cruises. I knew people when I was down in Florida that they did a lot of cruising, and I'm like, I went on one day cruise kind of a thing. It was a gambling cruise or whatever it was, and I didn't like it at all because, I was ready to go home, and the boat was not.
Right. That makes it difficult.
There's a timing issue here.
Yes.
You want everybody kind of in the same alignment here.
Right.
And I'm like, your goals and my goals aren't exactly aligned. And I'm 12 miles out to sea and, good luck.
Yeah.
So, that kind of set an impression with me that I'm like, I kind of like you. I just rather get on a plane. But
right.
then I look at what's going on in the airline world these days. And I'm like, I kind of like my basement.
Basement's probably safer than a plane.
Safer, I'm not too worried about. It's a little bit more deterministic. I know when it's happy hour, and it's not going to be delayed by 3 hours.
Right.
And I don't have to go someplace else for a day first. I don't have to have this document and that document and go stand in that line over here. And whoops, nope, sorry, you missed your flight. And somebody was telling me a story. They were flying from Columbia to, I'll say Salt Lake City, but they were going to someplace in Utah. I don't know exactly where, but
yeah,
their flight was delayed, diverted, whatever it was, out of Columbia. And instead of going Columbia to Dallas, which was the intention,
right.
they went Columbia to Washington, D.C., where they spent the night. Then flew the next day to San Diego, then to Utah.
Okay.
Instead of Columbia, Dallas, Salt Lake.
Salt Lake, yeah.
And that's the kind of thing where you're like, you better be flexible, roll with the punches. Who really cares? I'd like to think I'm that way, but did we mention the OCD?
I think we touched on it, yeah. Will loves to fly. You met Will. I think his favorite place in the whole world is the Atlanta airport.
Wow. There are a few people on this planet, I think, that would say that.
He has yet to have a bad experience in the Atlanta airport. It is coming. Don't worry.
I like Charlotte. When I was living in Florida, I did a ton of flying and would go through Charlotte twice a week.
Yeah.
And always liked that. But maybe it was because it was just an hour and I was going to be home from there, flying down to West Palm from there.
Yeah.
Friday night going home, Monday morning going out. So I don't know. That one always kind of worked well for me.
And honestly, I have very few bad experiences in Atlanta. It's usually been pretty smooth for me. Now, knock on wood, next time I'll go through, I'll get stuck for 6 hours or something.
I didn't mean that.
The worst experience coming back through Atlanta was actually when we were coming back from Paris. Kind of overcast, cloudy day. And when we break through the clouds going into Atlanta, the city's white. And I just said, oh shit. This airport's not made for snow. And we were there for a while. Of course, there's no rental cars. There's nothing.
Yeah. Well, at that point, snow on the roads in Atlanta. No, Atlanta's not made for snow. And you're better off just staying still at the airport than you were getting out on the roads, because I knew people out on those roads and it was bad.
Right.
It's bad on a normal day around there.
Yes.
First time I drove through Atlanta, I'm like, wow, it was just something. And then I drove through it a bunch of times because we were heading through there on a regular basis for a while. And Saturday or Sunday morning at 10 o'clock or something, it was still wall to wall, 5 lanes of traffic each direction.
It never slows down.
Yeah, I'm like, do you people, I couldn't figure it out. I was working out in California for a while, and I was in San Francisco, and the traffic out there was just stupid. And I was convinced, because they have a really bad homeless problem. I'm like, I think you people just put the homeless in cars and tell them to drive, because it gets them off the streets, gets them off the sidewalks.
Right.
But even then, I'm not really sure, because the driving skills weren't all that good. So they might have been driving on the sidewalks for all I know. But I'm like, where are you going?
Yep.
There's got to be a time, when we first moved here 20 years ago, and I was working at Blue Cross over on the other side of town, there was rush 5 minutes, but it was no big deal.
Right.
If you stuck around at work for an extra 5 minutes, you could miss it all. Now it's not like that. Yeah. But
traffic has gotten far worse here in the last 20 years.
Stop. So how much has it changed? I mean, you've been here your whole life, right?
Right. Yes.
Met your wife in high school. I think I got her story on that, so I don't need you to tell me how sweet that was. And
haven't been paroled yet.
It's never happening, don't worry.
I don't think so.
Trust me, you don't want it. So, but you've been here your whole life. Things have obviously changed.
Yes.
For the people that have been here forever, how do you embrace that? I'm a damn Yankee. Am I still on the outside? You're never going to let me in.
You've been here long enough. You're accepted now. You got to cross like the 18, 19 year mark. You've been here 20, so you're good.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's wildly different. But it's just one of those things choose not to worry about because there's nothing I can do.
Yeah, well,
I tell folks all the time, if you like the Lexington, Gilbert, Lake Murray area from, say, 1995,
doesn't exist.
just move. Like this, it's not going back. Just move.
Now, that said, there are a lot of conveniences here. You don't have to leave.
No.
It used to be when we got here, you went into Columbia a lot. You go over to the Harbison area and do a lot of shopping over there. It's nowhere near that anymore. I mean, I don't put anywhere near the number of miles on a car now.
No.
Now,
No.
maybe because I work from home, so that certainly helps. But
Right.
but it's almost funny to me. I rarely get into Columbia. I used to more often, but
really, Lexington has everything you need at this point.
And now it's all moving out. I mean, I heard a Target is opening up on Augusta Highway.
Right.
Out past the high school.
Right. Just past the high school. Everything is moving west on Highway 1 and 378. And it's just all spreading out towards Gilbert.
Right. At a certain point, we will look like Atlanta. If you want to know what the future of Lexington County, Richland County looks like, just look to the west. You'll find it in Atlanta. Maybe you don't have to go that far. It'll look like Augusta.
Yeah.
Augusta seems rather overhyped and overblown and over-commercialized.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the Masters and you're like, oh, what a beautiful place. Go on Google Maps. Zoom out a tiny bit.
Just a little bit.
And you're like, damn, that's not.
Right.
That's not what it used to be either.
No.
But some places seem to deal with that well. And, it's a good thing. In some places, I'm not sure. So far here, it'll be interesting to talk to a whole bunch of different people to get perspectives. But I think, I think it's been good. Overall, I would say it's been good. I've met a ton of really, really good people here. There are places that I've lived where I'm like, I don't really care to move back. The people are a little bit pretentious or, whatever word you want to use. That got slapped out of me, I think, the first or second day that I was here. And I was just kind of struck by how nice everybody was. In spite of, I was moving here from Boca Raton, Florida. So if you've ever been down in South Florida, especially at Boca, where everything is perfect, manicured.
Yes.
And then your next stop is Lexington, South Carolina. And you're like, that building is still standing? But then you walk inside and you meet the people in there and you're like, oh my gosh.
Right.
These are the best people I've ever met. And I've been in Louisville, and there's some really nice people up in Louisville. And I'm like, okay, that's why they say don't judge a book by its cover, because that'll get you in trouble. That is not a good plan. So, that's why I have no plan on leaving here. As far as I can tell, the best people in the world live right here.
Certainly some good ones, right?
There have been a couple, I suppose, that are, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I haven't met people here yet that I think, well, that's a really bad person. Now,
I can probably introduce you to a few.
Don't go down that road. There was the guy that used to work at Intel that had his kids until he didn't have his kids anymore. I forget his name offhand, but I knew people that worked with him over there at Intel. Basically killed his kids and then drove over to Alabama with him in his van or something. And
oh yeah, I remember that story now.
I forget that guy's name. But I'm like, okay, that's not really representative of South Carolina.
Hopefully not. Like, we're not that all that unstable.
Well, even some of the work that I've had done here, I didn't build this all by hand by myself. And I had a guy in here doing electrical work. And he had spent, I think, the prior 10 years a guest of the state.
That's nice.
And far as I could tell, I mean, first of all, I think he did a pretty good job of electrical work because lights are still working. House hasn't burned down yet.
Right.
And I've had other electricians here after that looking at that same work and adding on to it and not going, well, what the heck happened here? I've definitely had that experience in this house from the original builder. So at least that guy, but he was part of a crew where, the guy that runs that is part of Calvary Chapel over on Bar Road.
Yeah.
And he tends to try to find some of these people that are looking for a second chance and so on and so forth. And part of that same crew was a kid that the year before was a walk-on linebacker, I think, for the Gamecocks. I think after his junior year, he's like, no, it's not for me. I'm going to go do construction work and I'm going to go follow Christ.
Good for him.
And I'm like, wow.
That's a big change.
Yeah, you think? Yeah. And I was making lunch with the guys one day. I was making steak and I had to go grab him out of his truck. He went out in front. He was going to have his brown bag sandwich and read the Bible. I'm like, no, come on. Come on in.
Right.
One of the things that's funny about this space here, I've said this a number of times, I think the gospel has been shared here almost as much as the liquor. The Holy Spirit and the liquid spirits have definitely been in synchronicity.
I like it.
It's almost odd to think about it, but some of it is just it's that human interaction. My first guest was Kevin Thumpston, lives across the street here. And he's the pastor over at I'm sorry, Kevin, I'm going to screw this up. Woodshed? Watershed? Damn, I'm sorry. This is going to sound really bad. It's over in the old mill.
Okay.
Watershed Fellowship. In fact, I was just talking to him the other day. I was asking him about because he'd written like 3 books. He was working on his 4th. He's now working on his 5th one already or something. And I'm like, I haven't really talked to a lot of authors.
He's written more books than I've read.
You're from Gilbert.
Right.
But yeah, it's been kind of interesting. That's kind of what it brings about. So what brought you into, I know this is a very leading question. So 20 years you've been working at Westinghouse.
Yes.
You're now managing a group of designers. You're not doing the work yourself. They're making the job really easy for you.
Yes.
Somewhere along the line, kind of in the middle of that now, as it turns out, you're like, I got an idea. Let me make spirits. So that people can figure this out, as if you haven't told the story, I don't know what, 2,000 times now?
Once or twice at least by that. So I had a really good family friend that if you go back far enough, he and his father used to make moonshine locally on a non-trivial scale. We'll just say that. Locally. Right. So if you go to where Hollow Creek Distillery is, it was literally like 5 miles up the creek. So
they were not the only ones doing locally produced moonshine.
No, they were not. It used to be a thing here. Still might be, depending on who you talk to.
I've met some of these people.
Right.
They're like, yeah, we're trying to go legit now.
Yes. So you fast forward a whole bunch, and in 2009, South Carolina passes this law that sets up the permitting framework for micro distilleries, which is it's a fully functional distillery just on a smaller scale, and the permit's actually pretty generous. It's 300 and something thousand gallons a year you can produce on a micro distillery permit. So Lamar was the guy's name. He was reading about it in the newspaper and said, "It's all I've ever really wanted to do. I'm going to build one." He was actually the first person in the state to turn in an application for the permit. He kind of got a little ways down the road and figured out that I really don't want to deal with everything that comes along.
This is actually bigger than I wanted, and the government is not always your friend.
No, they're not. So you figure out very quickly that you get to know way more lawyers, insurance agents, and regulators than you ever wanted to. You deal with federal government, state government, county government. If you're inside town limits, whatever your local town is, it snowballs quickly. So Lamar said, good idea. Don't think I'm going to do it. Well, I thought it was a great idea, and I was young and dumb probably, but so far it's worked out. So we had talked about it a couple of times, and I went back to him again and said, hey, if you're sure you're not going to build one, I am. You want to come work? So that's kind of where it started, and it took a while to get it opened. So by the time I said, yes, we're actually going to go build this thing, we were no longer at the very bleeding edge of micro distilleries in South Carolina, right? There had been several open up. There were a few that were already
done,
obviously going to close. It's like, well, I think it's a great idea, but I really don't want to lose money. Like, that's not the purpose here. So let's figure out how you do this thing and make it profitable so that we can all continue to pay our bills and everything else. Realizing that Lexington County, South Carolina is not the epicenter of the distilled spirits industry.
I don't know. There was quite a lot of local distilling going on.
There was, but it's not Louisville.
Okay. It wasn't the epicenter of legitimate.
There you go. Right. There was plenty of local production, but it
wasn't locally bottled and in stores.
True. Very true. So we spent about a year figuring out how we wanted to do this and kind of convincing myself over time that, yes, there is actually a legitimate opportunity here. And then we spent about 2 years opening the place up. So in South Carolina, you have to have a fully functional facility before you are granted your final permit, which means you go through the construction and permitting pieces simultaneously.
So you're committing resources, time, money, expertise, blood, sweat, and tears, not having a permit yet.
Correct.
What are the odds that you don't get the permit after you put in all this blood, sweat, and tears?
Very slim if you do your homework and if you're willing to fight. So you can get local challenges or whatever, and it can delay your permit substantially. You may end up having to get a court date or whatever. But as long as you follow the rules, there's really nothing that at least I never saw anything that made me think this is a real issue. Like
you didn't feel like there was a lot of risk.
There was plenty of risk, but I did think I would eventually be able to get a permit. Now, if you ever want to have a really interesting conversation and feel like an idiot, go talk to a banker about what you want to do, and they're going to say, "Son, are you crazy?"
I will say that no, my goal is not to have a conversation with somebody and feel like an idiot.
So, yeah, there were several interesting conversations with banks. Just because it's,
you're having to pour in a ton of money, no doubt.
It is a ton. Yes.
Yeah. How's the engineering on that? I mean, there's got to be a million different ways to build a still. You got to choose, a lot of ways, and they're going to impact. So, I mean, I may be jumping ahead in my thought process, but I mean, I find this whole thing very, very fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, the fascinating pieces of what I have in my hand, just like glass alone, the shape of the glass is important. This is not ideally a whiskey glass, but it does kind of have a little bit of the proper shape for it. But then there's the liquid inside that. All of that went into choosing the grains that were used for fermentation, choosing the type of still, the type of wood barrel it went into, where to put that wood barrel, when to decide that stuff that's inside the wood barrel is good, what to do with the fact that you lost half of it to evaporation or something in the meantime, because turns out those barrels aren't exactly completely hermetically sealed.
No, they are not.
And then putting it into a bottle that you got to pay for a label for, that you can't change. And I was going to ask about how much does it cost to go, I'm going to have a special label. It's not like just going to your design program on your PC and going, let me design up a new label, print it out, and stick them on there. All of that to put this in a bottle on a shelf and hope that somebody comes along and goes, oh, look, I think I'd like to have that.
Right.
That's insane.
Yes, it is.
So I'm sorry to make you feel like an idiot, but dude, you're insane. But yeah, I mean, that's the incredibly fascinating part about this. So
when I sit here and think about where we are now, I'm very glad we did everything we did over the last 13 or 14 years at this point.
All right. So what one choice did you make? You went, that was a really good choice. I could have gone over here and been down a different path and would have ended in failure. The piece of dirt you're on?
So the piece of dirt was a good choice because it is a very good location. I don't like the whole concept of a distillery tucked into a leased storefront on Main Street, whatever your local town is. It doesn't feel right to me, and there's all kind of logistical problems that come along with it. So the property we're on, it's out away from town a little bit, but it's easy to get to.
It feels like the place the distillery ought to be.
Right. It's a 10-mile ride west of Lexington. As you get further and further out, your blood pressure kind of comes down. Life seems to slow down a little bit. But it's not like I've got to go, 2 hours through the mountains or whatever to get to this distillery. So it's easy, but it's out away from town a little bit. It does have a great view. So we're kind of right there on Lake Murray overlooking it. And believe it or not, that's a huge help, especially in summertime. A lot of people, myself included, never realized just how much of a tourism draw Lake Murray is. So a lot of craft distilleries will slow down some during the summer, because honestly, a lot of people drink beer during the summer instead of spirits, and it's just not your traditional busy season for distilleries. We do fantastic because there's an influx of people every week that are looking for cool stuff to do in the area. And when you're looking for cool stuff to do in Lexington County, we pop up. So the dirt was certainly a good choice. And then honestly, it's been, I don't even know the best way to say it, just getting in. So you have to have chips on the table before good things can happen. And I've always been willing to bet on myself, and I've always been stubborn to a fault. So once I'm in the game, I'll figure it out.
Now, does that come from a sense of confidence? So did you play sports in high school?
Yes.
What was your sport? What'd you do?
Played baseball longer than anything. I played baseball throughout my high school career.
Right field, catcher, pitcher, first base. Shortstop. There was a play in the College World Series this year that I don't think I've ever seen before. Pitcher and first base didn't quite communicate. It was a bunt down the first base side, and nobody covered the bag. Pitcher got the ball and went because the first baseman had tried to.
Yep, first baseman's coming up.
He thought he was going to get it. But the pitcher could get it. But the first baseman thought, well, the pitcher's going to go cover the bag because that's his job.
Right.
And the runner was safe, of course. And I'm just like, wow, we didn't practice that. The bunt went to just exactly the right spot where there was
I vaguely remember watching it. It was, a perfect bunt, went to no man's land. In theory, first baseman charges to try to field the bunt down the first base line. Pitcher tries to cut it off, and second baseman comes over to cover the bag. I don't remember enough to know if they had the infield shifted or what, but yes, I do remember it, and it was a beautiful bunt.
Yeah. But the reason I guess I ask you is that your confidence that if you just keep plowing forward, because you've said a couple of things that have kind of revealed this thought process. Like this is early on in my podcast series here. Mm-hmm. And you note that, well, yeah, but if you just stick to it past a certain point, you're almost guaranteed there's results here. So this is the same thing. This is a continuation of a theme. And I'm just kind of curious, did that start on the baseball field or did that start in Sunday school? Where did this, son, if you just stick with this?
I don't know where it started, honestly. So I'd like to think I've always had a pretty good work ethic, so maybe that's what it boils down to. But then if you really think about it, so in business, there's only two ways to go out of business. It's only two. You either run out of cash or you quit. So if you refuse to quit,
and you make sure that don't run out of cash.
All you got to do is figure out how to not run out of cash. Like, it can be tough, but as long as you don't overextend yourself and you always have a solid foundation you're working from, saying, all right, I can spend this money because I know I can cover it with whatever else, then so be it. That's why after 20 years I'm still working for Westinghouse, because it's always been kind of a fallback that I don't know what I'm doing when I start out over here at Hollow Creek, so I can place a lot of bets and see what works and what doesn't, because I don't have to worry about, hey, this month's salary from Hollow Creek has to pay this month's mortgage at my house.
There's a lot to be said for that, but that mindset itself probably puts you in a very small company.
There's probably very few of us that are that crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, so how much is this luck of the draw? I mean, is this all the success that you've had so far? Is it greater or less than what you thought you'd have at this point? You've been doing this for about 11 years now, right?
Right. Christmas, we will have been open for 11 years.
All right. So you started this open, as in you had your permit?
Doors open.
So you started this 2 years probably prior to that.
3 years.
3 years prior to that. So in 2012, you said, I got this great idea. Yep. Are you where you would have imagined you'd be in 2025?
No, not at all. It has been, let's see, I'm trying to think overall, how would I sum it up? It's been a lot more challenging than I thought it would be. And it's been a different mix. So I never really intended to build a destination or much of a retail shop. It's like, yeah, we're going to sell some retail bottles just because the permit allows it and margins are great if you take the product from grain to retail. But that's never going to be a big thing. We're going to focus on wholesale.
Right.
It turns out, in my opinion, you have to have something to build a reputation with. And if you look at your retail operation as, this is marketing that I don't have to pay for, I actually get paid really high margins to help establish a reputation so that then people will go buy my spirits at their local store. I never saw it working out like that. But that seems to be kind of the model.
So what percentage of your total overall sales is retail out your door versus wholesaling to distributors out to other retailers versus, I don't know, do you have a single barrel marketplace at all? or barrel pick marketplace at all?
Yes, we've done some barrel picks before. We're probably still majority retail at the end of this year. Our wholesale is growing pretty good though. So I don't know. We'll call it 50-50. How about that?
Where's your greatest satisfaction? Ringing up somebody at the cash register and you're out in your location, or watching a truck pull away with a couple of cases?
Truck pull away.
A couple of pallets of cases, rather.
Truck pull away. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see people come out, but I like loading trucks. I really like loading trucks.
Yeah. So what's the reality of the great bourbon crash? The great bourbon overcompensation.
It hasn't hurt us. Now, there's a couple of caveats here. In the bourbon world, we are the tiniest of drops in the ocean. So, in my mind, I almost really don't care what the greater bourbon market does, because our brands are not big enough for that to really affect it. I think it's actually a pretty good opportunity because people are still going to drink bourbon and people are still looking for kind of the cool experience. I think part of what we're seeing is the market is shifting away from these overly hyped allocated brands. Like, everybody's got their fill of these allocated brands now. Everybody's managed to run down a few bottles. Some people have filled up.
It's not like I've got 5 bottles of Elijah Craig over here.
Right. Some people have filled up their entire, spare bedroom with cases of bourbon. So we've kind of gotten past that. But in my world, personally, like, bourbon's great. It's still doing wonderful. That's one of our biggest limitations is we don't have enough bourbon. We didn't make enough juice 6 years ago, which is there's not a whole lot you can do about it.
Yeah, and some of it is, there's fads that come and go. I mean, there's, for a while back in, let's say, the 80s, vodka was a big deal.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody wanted to have whatever foo-foo vodka there was out there. I never quite personally understood that, although I drank a fair amount of it. But it was always mixed with whatever, so I didn't care that much.
Right.
I'm only recently starting to learn more about the differences. When I was talking to Trey the other night about the bottoms up, and I don't know, I'm a geek, so I started asking about, what makes yours different. And he starts talking about a mash bill, and I'm like, there's a mash bill for vodka. I guess there would be.
Absolutely.
That makes total sense. Didn't think about it. Now I got that OCD thing going on, and I find that all fascinating. Ones and zeros. I mean, I don't know why. Who cares? I mean, abstract math, not my thing. I don't know. I should be good at it. Not really there. Music, yes. Ones and zeros, got it. I can count to 4. God forbid I actually have a five count bar and don't ask me to improvise. If you put it on sheet music, I can play it, not a problem. If you want me to think about it, no, that's going to be a problem. But this, finding out just, all of the variables and all the things that can go into it, that's where I come back to. I'll circle back to the, to sharing the gospel. I'm like, God put this all together, and I get to explore all of this land here.
Yes.
And I'm never going to get to explore everything, but I want to explore this little space over here. And it's just, the more you dig into it, the more interesting it is. I mean, I have an alcohol problem, but it's not a drinking problem. It's a storage problem.
You need more shelves.
Yeah. Well, this is true. I just need more friends, one or the other.
Right.
But, friends are easy to come by.
Especially when you have alcohol.
Apparently. Although I will say that people don't come over here and just go, okay, I want some of this, want some of this, want some of that. The thing that's nice is I love to take people down a journey. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, what do you like? Well, let's start with this, and you compare this to this. I was with a friend once. We were out in Atlanta. In fact, we were at ASW Distillery, mm-hmm. and we were having a couple of the fiddlers and I think the duality, which is here, which is malted barley and malted rye put together, and then we had the Resurgence, and the Resurgence is 100% malted rye. Mm-hmm. And he says, well, this still reminds me of Scotch. And I said, Gordon, that's the malt. And he's like, what? I said, that's what the malting process does. And it blew his mind. This is a guy I've known since college.
Yeah.
And, he's bright and so on and so forth, but he just never kind of put it together and realized that that's why they, chocolate malt balls or, different things. It's like, that's why it has that flavor. It's the malting process that does that. Oh, he's like, you can do that with this. You can do that with anything. And so that is fun. I mean, maybe making a couple different cocktails for people, and they're like, oh my God, that is the best thing going. They've been to Fridays or something, or they've been to, wherever they've gone and have had a margarita. Let me make you a margarita.
Right.
And they're like, oh my God, this is so much better. It's the same thing. Ingredients are different.
Yes.
The ingredients are a little bit better. And suddenly you're like, I didn't know I liked such and such a thing. Yeah, well, it's like you haven't had good pizza before until you have good pizza.
Right.
All right, so I have to ask you the pizza question.
Okay.
Who makes the best pizza in town?
I'm pretty irreverent to pizza, honestly.
Damn.
The last several weeks, we've just made pizza at home because we make pretty decent pizza.
So where's the dough come from?
Publix.
You get their little pre-made dough ball.
Right.
That is actually very good. I will tout that. My wife, who's Italian, has her old family recipe for making pizza dough, which is the same as you go to any Italian pizzeria that makes their own dough. It's simple. I mean, I couldn't make it for you, but she does. But she'll also go get that Publix dough ball. And she's like, yeah.
It's just too easy. You're already at Publix. You pick it up and you save, 20 minutes.
What do you put on your pizza?
Let's see. Pepperoni, ground beef, mushrooms, olives, mozzarella cheese.
So if you had a Hawaiian pizza, if you had the pineapple and you're supposed to use, I guess, Canadian bacon, but, whatever.
Right. I've had it.
That kind of blew my mind when I had it the first time. I'm like, excuse me? You put what on here?
Right.
There's pineapple on pizza?
Right.
That's bizarre.
I've only had it a few times, but every time it's been good.
It is surprisingly good.
Right.
I grew up just, Pizza Hut, pepperoni or whatever.
Right.
We went to Italy back in 2000, and pizza in Italy is not the same as pizza in the United States. I don't really know why. I kind of blame the Sicilians, because they're the ones that brought it all over here and popularized it. I'm like, y'all were making pizza over there. Why didn't you make the same thing here as you made there?
Yeah.
Why are we eating American pizza? You go over there, you can't get a pizza that resembles American pizza here. I don't understand that part.
What's it like? I've never been to Italy. It's coming up.
Small.
Sooner than later. But
typically small. The dough is not really like American dough. It's a little more, it's light, thin and airy, but it's a little more chewy. It's got a little bit more texture to it, a little more, chewy. And then you might get a little tomato sauce on it, but nothing like, our tomato sauce. But there's a little light flavoring of tomato on there.
Yeah.
And then there's salad. Stuff is just chopped up, put on top of it, and it can be this, it could be that. You might have some fish. You might have some I don't know if you'd even get much with ground beef. It's mostly reminds me more of like salad. Now you can get a pizza margarita, a margarita pizza, which is basically just dough and sauce.
Yep.
So for those of us who grew up I grew up in Western New York, which is really just another part of Ohio. Nothing against Ohio, but I grew up eating Wonder Bread and Velveeta cheese.
Yeah.
And Miracle Whip. And trust me, my wife's Italian family loves to make note of that. But, that's how I grew up. And so when we went to Italy, I'm like, all right, well, pizza margherita is close to what I can kind of identify with. My tastes have changed, though.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking forward to going back and kind of get into all the differences over there. When we first moved here, there was Cardoni's and then the chains. And I was not fond of Cardoni's, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But then there was that place out on Augusta Highway next to the high school. Name always escapes me. They're not there anymore, but they were actually fantastic. They were like authentic. Well, fantastic. They were authentic Harlem, New York pizza.
Where was this?
Immediately on the east side of the high school, there's a little plaza at the corner of Charter Oak and Highway 1.
Mm-hmm.
Before the CVS was there, so there's a little plaza. I think there's like a Zebra Cleaners in there, maybe.
Yep.
And a Mediterranean or a Middle Eastern restaurant there. That used to be an Italian restaurant.
Okay.
The name will come to me eventually. My wife, her grandmother, grew up in Harlem. Her folks were, I think, off the boat. She was the youngest of, I think, 13 kids or something. We took her there for dinner one night, and she ended up talking to the owner, chef, and she's like, I'm coming here for my 100th birthday. She was like 92 or something like that at the time. And he was also from Harlem, so, I mean, they were... I get my talkativeness from her.
Yeah.
Not related to her at all. But, that was really, really good. But other than that, the pizza in this town was not good. But now Cavacci's is good. I like Clara and Ray's, of course. There's a couple others that are in town that are doing pretty well that are really kind of good. And for that matter, I mean, I really don't mind a Papa John's pizza now and again, too. So
actually, I like Papa John's. It's fun.
When, who was it? The Chicago place. I'm so bad at names. Lucky I can remember my own name. But there used to be a place over on 378 on Sunrise near Mineral Springs, restaurant, Italian pizza place, chain.
Uno
Pizzeria. I've always liked their dough. There's something about the ingredients in there. I'm like, that had a good flavor to it. So I don't know. Anyway, so you're in Gilbert, you're playing baseball, you end up at Clemson in mechanical engineering. What brought you into that space?
Mechanical engineering space?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of grew up in a machine shop. My uncle owned a machine shop, and we did all heavy industrial stuff, steel mills, paper mills, power generation, that kind of thing. Not, I want my engine rebuilt. Not at all. So I started working there probably when I was too young to legally have a job, and kind of worked there throughout high school, and figured out I'm pretty mechanically inclined. I like this kind of stuff. Not sure I want to do the physical work for the next 40 years of my life. So let's go figure out what the engineering side of it looks like.
Is that part what draws you to the distillery? The mechanics of a still and putting it together, and is that the through line that's there?
So the distillery is like, it's the perfect intersection of three different things for me. I'm a Lexington County farm boy through and through.
So you got moonshining in your history.
Right. And you've got the whole agricultural piece of distilling beyond moonshine, right? You've got all your grains and so you've got agriculture, then you've got like the mechanical equipment piece of it that I also dearly love. And then you throw on top of that, hey, we're going to meld these two, we're going to make a product, and we're going to run business. And what I've learned in my life is business is my hobby. Like if you look at my any of my social media feeds, it's pretty boring. It's all business and marketing.
So it wasn't the people, it wasn't the retail side that drew you to it.
No, it was not.
How do you like the retail side today?
I actually enjoy it now. We've built up a little bit of a following, and it's fun to see folks come in, and you meet somebody new every day, and you find out what their story is. And what I've seen over the last decade is those stories have become more and more varied. You see folks from all walks of life in there. From your local Joe like me that's been here their whole life to whatever. Hey, we just moved from California or New York or Ohio. I swear half the state of Ohio is moving here. And you learn their story, and then I don't know. I never really thought I had much of a story, but people are fascinated by the fact that you've been here your whole life and you've seen what it was 40 years ago and what it is now, and
that's
your
why I'm
family's
asking
been
you the
here
same
forever.
Yeah. How does that feel? Your family's been here forever. Do you feel like it's home? Like, because there's Amick's Ferry Road. There's a whole bunch of, the Amick name is not exactly foreign around here.
No, it is not.
Does it give you a sense of belonging? Does it give you a sense of there's an extra weight that I carry because of this? Like I've got a responsibility that you want to run away from?
I don't think it's an extra
I couldn't wait to run away from home. I didn't run away, but I couldn't wait to move once I got to the point in my life I could.
Right.
I'm like, I can't wait to go. And I think that's healthy. I try to instill the same thing in my daughter. It's your life. Go.
Right.
Go live your life. Do you feel a legacy pressure?
Not really. Like, I don't think there's any extra weight there, but I also think that is somewhat personality dependent. I've never really shied away from responsibility. So to me, it's normal. Like, I think we're going to end up building something really cool, but it in no way, shape, or form was to add to the family legacy. This was just, I wanted to build something really cool, so I'm going to do it. To me, it's just normal. Like Amick's Ferry Road and, Amick Farms, and it's a big name in this very hyper local area. But when you get away from Lexington County, maybe Saluda County or whatever, it's not all that big of a name, and I don't know. To me, it just feels normal.
Well, I guess it probably would, but I was thinking about this earlier today. I'm like, I don't know how many partises there are in South Carolina. I think there's exactly 0 or exactly 1. 0. I'm counting myself out already.
Right. Don't do that.
That would be a bad idea. But, there's history that goes with that kind of thing that, my family grew up here, or, my dad was from Rochester, New York, and I suppose I could live in Rochester and say, well, I'm second or third generation here because his folks were there. His father emigrated from England, so it doesn't go back that far, at least on his side. My mother's side of the family, they go all the way back to the Mayflower.
Yeah.
But there's a certain amount of, I kind of want to get out of that space. But there's also a certain amount of, that's kind of, there's some comfort in that. But I also think that everything comes down to the personal relationships that you can build, and history has nothing to do with that.
Right.
Today has everything to do with that.
Yes.
It's the only thing that matters at that point.
Right.
And so I don't know. I don't have that perspective. I don't know. Like if I went and lived in England and found out that like, oh, all the Partuses are over here. I'm like, I don't know. Would I feel good about that? I don't know. It'd be kind of weird. Especially if there's a Partus college in Bath, England, but it's not a university. It's like an old ladies' home. I don't know why it's called a college. It surely is an old medieval term for whatever it is, but
Right.
It's where old widows live. And to this day, they still do. And it was started by Fletcher Partus. Don't know how he's related at all. Probably related somehow.
Right.
But I'm sure if I went there, I would get the question all the time. Oh, are you related? I have no idea.
Right.
No idea whatsoever.
Right.
But I don't live there, so I don't have that. I don't know what that's like. I just hear, and they're like, "You're from New York? Yeah. Can you go back?
Can you go back?
Please?" I'm like, "No, I kind of like it here. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. I'm contributing. I'm going to do the best I can around here and raise my family here. That's the way it works out." So, of course, this is the whole, like, what's the future hold? But where do you think Lexington is going?
Certainly not going backwards. So here's my take on it, and it's not very specific. In 10 years, most people won't recognize this place. Lexington used to be this, quiet little agrarian community. Secrets out, it's a pretty nice place to live, and there are thousands of homes being built.
Yeah, but they're all tightly compacted on
Right.
little subdivisions off this road and subdivision off that road, rather than let's just build another house down the road, another house down the road.
Right. So I think that is the whole let's just build another house down the road.
Does that dilute the culture, do you think?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. But it'll evolve over time, and I don't know that you'll ever truly get rid of the old Lexington culture. Like, I think most people will move into the area and they will recognize, hey, folks here, they speak to you, they wave on the road, they don't go out of their way to try to be an ass. And hopefully, people just assimilate into that. But who knows? I mean, my magic 8-ball could be completely wrong.
So as the people walk in your door, what's been kind of the most fascinating thing to see? Certainly you've got people coming in that have been around forever. I knew your daddy. I knew your granddad. Whatever it was, you certainly have a lot of that. But there's got to be some people that you come in where you say, "Wow, I didn't see that coming," and I feel blessed to have met this person.
So
that's going to happen fairly regularly.
There's a lot of really, really cool stories. One that I've shared recently a couple of times. So there's this older gentleman, had been in a few times, really nice guy, down to earth. You talk to him, you just thought he's, nice, retired guy. Has done, pretty good. He lives out in a community on the lake, right? Wouldn't ever think a whole lot about it. He comes in one time a few months ago and he says, "Hey, I've missed you the last handful of times I've been in here. I've been wanting to catch you. I got something I want to show you." And this dude proceeds to show me his Stanley Cup championship ring from when the Penguins won, and he was an owning partner. I was like, hold on a second.
You don't see a lot of hockey people in this town.
No, you don't. But that
you might be surprised how many you do see here, though.
I hear a few people talk about hockey, which apparently
it's a game they play on ice.
Is it on ice?
Mostly. Sometimes it spills into the stands.
Right. Right. But that's just one of those you never see it coming. Like, number one, if you're an owner of the Pittsburgh Penguins, how do you end up down here? And how do you stay so grounded? Like, obviously, you have done extremely well in life. But if you talk to the guy, he's just like a really nice retired guy.
So this is the interesting experience I had in South Florida. I never lived in Boca Raton. I lived around it. I lived in Deerfield Beach, lived in Delray Beach. Deerfield's on the south side, Delray's on the north side. There is a certain attitude among a lot of people, but not exclusively. I've met a lot of really good people in Boca. But there is a certain attitude of, I've made it, and I'm going to go live in Boca. Right. Now, IBM had been there for years, which is why I was there. My first job out of school was working at IBM. So there was a huge influence of that there. But there was an awful lot of newly rich people. And it was a really unique environment. You couldn't stop at a stoplight and not see what you'd call a luxury car. But just up the road is Palm Beach, one of the richest areas in the world.
Yeah.
And, Palm Beach, where it's statistically likely for two Rolls Royce to run into one another. The houses and just the amount of money that is in Palm Beach dwarfs what's in Boca. And Boca's a really wealthy area.
Yeah.
Palm Beach is on a totally different scale. Those two classes of people are totally different. The ones in Palm Beach are as down to earth as you could possibly imagine.
Right.
Unassuming. You wouldn't know it when you met them unless it came out somehow. You're like, oh, okay. Now, I met some of those people in Boca. I had a friend of mine down there. He's like, yeah, let's go water skiing. I was like, okay. So he says, meet me over here at this boat dock. I meet him over at the boat dock. We go water skiing. He's got his boat on a lift or something over there. We come and go a couple times, and that's all I know. I'm working with a guy, down to earth, one of the hardest working guys I've ever met.
Yeah.
But he lives across the street from where the boat dock was. I don't know that. All I know is that, you got to have your boat on the water somewhere. Yeah, so you just go to where the dock is. I mean, there's a little boathouse there. You park there and you do whatever. Well, his dad had a house across the street. His folks had a house across the street and a hotel down the street and several hotels throughout the Caribbean. And he was a big construction magnate up in New Jersey.
Okay.
But my friend was as down to earth as you could possibly imagine. Somebody asked me, a few days later, I was back at work, and well, did you see his house? I'm like, no, I saw his boat. Right. Went water skiing.
Right.
Hopped in the boat, went water skiing. I gave him, $10 for gas and insurance or whatever, and off we went. Well, his house across the street. I'm like, the ocean's across the street. They're like, no, there's a house there. But as we're out on the boat one day, and we're on the intercoastal or something, and some guy goes by and some boat really fast. He goes, these damn rich kids in their go fast boats. He goes, yeah, I know. But the attitude was so much different.
Right.
That's what's common here, though. People are not pretentious.
Right.
You just don't see that here. And that's the culture that, I'd love to see continue. Because it's like, I don't know, that's what, kind of matters.
Right. The way I look at it, people have nothing to prove. Like, you might be uber rich. Doesn't matter.
More likely I'm not.
Well,
but yeah, that's also the thing that I think. If I had to pick an industry that I would like to go get into, I find this fascinating on a mathematical scale, on a machinery scale. Like, oh, got to build a still. It's got to do this. It's got to do that.
Mhm.
All the different things about that impact the final product. The people that like this. Oh, you got to educate your market. I started out in the internet business in 1992.
Whew.
Yes. I was ahead of the curve, you might say.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And I spent a lot of my time. In 92, I lost a contract. I was working at Siemens Stromberg Carlson. And as I'm likely to do, somebody said something to me and I had a response. Found myself unemployed the next day.
Oh, well.
Or virtually the next day. And I ended up kind of getting into this thing called the internet. And I thought, well, this would be kind of cool to do. So I worked for myself for the next 5 years or so. I lost money doing it. But I spent all that time educating people. Like, do you know why you need to have your business on the internet? And I'm like, you should have a website. I can host your website for you.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not the only person to have done this. I came out of it with debt. Other people came out of it with hundreds of millions of dollars, doing the exact same thing at the exact same time, in the same marketplace. And I have to go, okay, what was different? Why did that not work for me, but it worked for them? And there's a certain collection of attributes I could find about that. One of them is I'm a loner, and it's not really good to be doing that by yourself.
Right.
It's better to have help, and I don't like help. Which is why I find it fascinating that I'm managing people now. I'm like, like, how do you be good at this?
It's frustrating. You have all responsibility, but you do not have direct control.
Yeah. I mean, people tell me about, like, well, I found this code in here and I found that code over there. And I'm like, they did what? They wrote it how? Like, why are we doing this? But everybody's got a different way of doing things. And in the end, the product works.
Right.
And you're like, how does that work? But this is also the thing, that because I went through, Y2K and a whole bunch of other things. And I'm like, yes, that's how that happens. I totally get that. How a plane stays in the sky, I don't know. How it is that everything hasn't just fallen apart, I don't know. But it'd be kind of cool to have a distillery where I can kind of have this little space where I can kind of do my own thing.
Yeah.
So I find that's why I find it very, very fascinating. And I find all of this, every bottle is a little bit different, and I love to take people down that journey.
Yeah.
Because that's really what matters. So,
Cool.
Mr. Craig.
I'm empty. Wait a minute. We have a bottle of Dual.
We have to have a little bit of difference. Now, this is going to be a little different. Speaking of journey, maybe you've had some of this before, but this is a totally different thing. It is, you can't even call it a single malt because it's a double malt.
Right.
But it's American made. And it's
in Atlanta, Georgia.
Fascinating. And college roommate of the guy that started that, he used to live right there.
Really?
That's how I know about it. It's all about the people.
Yes, it is.
Ching.